Well, ever since supporters of Donald Trump attacked the Capitol to try to overturn Joe Biden's election, the media has moved to limit the former president's access to the public, with Facebook upholding its ban on Trump and the news networks carefully weighing when and how to cover him. But now, as Trump re-enters the political fray, he's getting a big boost from an unlikely source. Adam Riley has more.
Compared to the shout-fests on mainstream cable, C-SPAN has long been an oasis.
This is the Parrot Bebop, which weighs just over a pound.
It's packed with government proceedings you won't see anywhere else, and other endearingly offbeat moments.
Book TV asked Representative Buddy Carter, "What are you reading?"
It's actually a biography of a fictional philosopher, Diogenes Theophilus.
Now, though, C-SPAN has another distinction. If you want a pure, unadulterated dose of Donald Trump, they've got you covered.
I am not the one trying to undermine American democracy.
When Trump gave last week's keynote to the North Carolina GOP, C-SPAN went live with no commentary or fact-checking as the former president made his usual array of false claims.
The 2020 presidential election was by far the most corrupt election in the history of our country. They used COVID and they used the mail-in ballots to steal an election. That election will go down as the crime of the century.
The Baltimore Sun's David Zurowick calls that hands-off approach a major disappointment, saying that while Trump needs to be covered, allowing him unfiltered access to our platforms and audiences is dangerous. C-SPAN replied that it has a long history of covering speeches by former presidents in their entirety and without commentary. Problem is, we've never seen a former president leave office like Trump did.
So, Dan, that seems to be the issue here, that it's Trump. I mean, love David Zurowick. He's a great media critic. But, you know, I've never seen him levy this kind of criticism if it was unfettered access to President Obama or something like that. I mean, that's the problem here. This is what C-SPAN does. I mean, you either tune it in and watch grass grow or you turn somewhere else. But I defend them only because that is what they do. That is their platform. They don't fact check.
Well, one of these things is not alike, right? I think that a talk by George W. Bush or Barack Obama or whoever else you could think of is not the same as showing a talk by Donald Trump just a few months after he attempted to incite an insurrection. Now, I don't think C-SPAN should have done this, but I also think that that's an easy call to make under the circumstances. He's the former president. He's not running for anything yet. I think that this would be a much more difficult calculation in a couple of years if he actually is running for president again and C-SPAN is doing their Road to the White House series. I think it's much harder not to carry what he's saying at that point. But in this case, no, I don't think they should have. And we've talked about this with Trump coverage many times. I know C-SPAN is different. They run the raw feed. But we've said over and over on this program that news organizations ought to cover his talk and report on what's newsworthy, not give him all of this unfettered access.
How many journalists are saying over and over to themselves now, after having done it for God knows how much, allowing him to just tweet, say, do whatever, and they would just repeat it woodenly with nothing? That went on for a long time, people, before the journalism in the journalists kicked in and people said, wait a minute, you know, somebody has to speak back to the fact that these are just lies. And so in this instance, particularly since the crux of what he was talking about is the biggest lie having to do with democracy, it was really incumbent upon them to think quite carefully about how they were going to present this information. I'm not saying you should not have the man on. I'm saying that there had to be some context. We are now in a situation, appropriately, I think, where the TV stations are not going to run Gone with the Wind without some context. You're just going to let Donald Trump say anything? Come on.
Yeah, I agree. I think the problem here is that we're well past the point with Donald Trump where you can say, like, well, this is how we've always done it. You know, like, the man doesn't adhere to norms. So sort of saying, like, unthinkingly, well, we're C-SPAN, this is just how we do things, doesn't really fly. If they had had a thoughtful response, like if they had come back and said, look, we thought about it and we understand that giving him a platform is complicated, but these are our reasons, that would have been more justifiable to me. I think just coming back with the response that, like, this is what we do from any platform, from Facebook to Twitter to C-SPAN, just doesn't cut it with this guy. I mean, he's literally telling people that he's going to be reinstated in August. You just have to treat him differently. He is different.
Well, heaven help me, I watch a lot of C-SPAN, so I think I can speak with some authority on this. I have no problem with what they did. They show a lot of whack jobs on C-SPAN without real-time commentary or fact-checking on what they do. Now, if they didn't have a little panel discussion following up on that broadcast, they probably should have. I think that would have been a good idea, as to your point about context. But I would think C-SPAN would probably have covered the North Carolina GOP convention under ordinary circumstances, even if Trump weren't there. And what is being achieved by them shutting him out? Right-wing media outlets are showing it. It'll be readily available to anyone on the web. I think there's some value in those of us who are not wearing tinfoil hats having a readily accessible opportunity to see what this guy is doing, because like it or not, he still matters in American politics.
Yeah. Dan, you want to respond to that quickly? I agree.
No, I mean, I think Jon makes some good points. I just come at this differently, and it's because of Trump's history. Yeah. You're continuing to give a platform to somebody who tried to overturn the results of the election and is continuing to try to overturn the results of the election.
All right.
And at this particular time, when he's not a candidate, I don't see why we need to give him a platform.